My journey started here in Pristina, where I was born. I then moved to London with my family when I was 3. So my dad saw that, it was difficult to get by with a name that people couldn't pronounce. We're in a culture where, people judge you for every little thing. So he changed our surname to Ora, which is a synonym for Sahachu. And now we were, put into another space where we're having to, encounter all of these different things. So when the time came for me to go to university, I was just automatically attracted to, I didn't want to study. I think it's really hard for people to know what they want to study at a really young age. Like, we're put into this box of, what do you want to be straight away. And I think that's quite hard for people to kind of know what they want to be at such a young age. So I just tried to pick something that when I looked at, my options, there was things there that I was actually interested in. And for me, that was political theory, like agenda setting. So while I was doing that and following my instincts, and interests, meanwhile, I was working on the weekends for a brand for this man called Philip Green. He runs Arcadia. I was going to uni, I was working at the same time, building my interests, which were more in the theory of, popular culture and society and what people are interested in. Meanwhile, Rita was also building her interest, and she always felt more comfortable in front of an audience because that's just her nature. So she was expanding her network with musicians and with culture and people that we grew up with. Meanwhile, but more like the practice element of it. Meanwhile, I was doing the theory side of it. We always got on in those terms, but we were just very, personality-wise, very different. So then one day, she used to always steal my shoes, even though she was 2 sizes smaller than me, so she would ruin all of my shoes. So she came home one day with my shoes on, obviously, and I was gonna go mad at her, and I said, "You're wearing my shoes again." And she was like, I had this massive audition for this this woman, and for this label called Rock Nation, Jay-Z's label, and I was like, what? So what happened? And then she's like, we've got to fly to New York, we got to pack everything, bring all your shoes, I'm going to wear all your shoes. So now we've got a deal on the table, but I'm 18, she's 16, no one knows what deal means. Like, if an 18-year-old gets given a contract, what are they going to do with it? Give them £10, they'll go to the shop, buy all the alcohol in the shop. Give them a contract, they're like, what do I do with this? So I was like, okay, contracts, deals means lawyers. So this was one of the first steps of us starting to build our brand. We started to build our team and find people that we believed in who had expertise in delivering product. The way we found our team was through researching artists and musicians that we liked and Googling who their lawyers were, because we had no idea about the music industry. And we ended up finding our lawyer. So we had him, and we started to look through it all. So now we had a deal on the table. We had this massive platform, everyone looking, watching, waiting. Usually when you sign to a label, they're not as high profile as a label ran by one of the most successful artists in the music industry, Jay-Z. It's just like a label, and you have time, you go and do your thing, and then you come back and you're like, here's my album. So now we're in a predicament. We don't have an album when we've been signed, so we've got an audience and no album. So now we're like, oh my God, what do? The label don't want to give us any money because we haven't released anything yet. So they don't want to pay for marketing because there's nothing to market. But we can feel the pressures because we're all on social media. Do you know what we should do? We should tell them why you. Let's film like a diary every week and release a diary every week explaining like who we are and where we come from and why they picked us, because they picked us for a reason. This wasn't, I don't want anyone to think this happened by luck or by accident. We didn't get lucky here, we worked, and we really pushed and strived to make these relationships and be present in a market space where it was so competitive. So we started doing these video diaries. We did one on fashion. We did one where we couldn't put any music out because labels don't let you put music out until your album's ready, and they own all the masters of the music. That's just how it works, the technicalities of it. So we started doing covers of songs so people can hear her voice, because the most important thing for me was let people hear you sing. So we would work out strategically what songs would make sense, and we would always try and do covers where people couldn't compare you to the artist, because it puts the other artist in an awkward position, it puts you in an awkward position. So we were like, let's focus on you covering songs that we love, so we know they represent us and what we like growing up. And let's do male artists, so they don't take it personally, everyone's flattered and it works for everyone. So we started doing those, and we developed this format every week where people slowly start developing an emotional attachment to us as a team and a brand, rather than just Rita and the songs. So we're like, and to this day, we did this thing called the Vevo Lift campaign, which is now part of a release plan that all the major labels use to launch artists, so that fans can feel more connected to the artists, and it just talks you through their life and career and how to do it. And those videos now have 380 million views on Vevo to this day, and they're still rising. And we did those with no help. We edited them ourselves, directed them ourselves, and that was one of the next steps of us creating our own brand, because we were now being identified as people. So in the meantime, while we were doing all of that, we were also recording music. Recording an album is really difficult because you have to pick your writers, producers, who you want to work with, pick your subject titles, what you want to say, how do you want to look, what do you want, like, how are you, if you were a packet of crisps, how would you be selling yourself? Like, are you salt and vinegar? Are you ready salted? Like, who are you? At the time, it was like drum and bass music, and there was a few DJs that we would go and watch, like DJ Fresh, Chase and Status, there was all these things. So when the label came to us and they said, like, who do you want to work with? Immediately, I was like, we need to work with all these people, DJ Fresh, Chase and Status, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, Chase and Status gets up signing to Rock Nation. So in the meantime, while we're like doing all these things, thinking that we're just representing ourselves and our passions, these people are now getting signed off of the fact that, everyone's growing together as a creative community. Our videographer, our stylist, our producers, everyone's growing together. So you're not only building your brand, you're building the brand of the team around you. So now we've got our next single, Hot Right Now. And we've got, so how it worked at the time in the UK is, you need to sell, I went and worked out at the label, I said, how many singles do we need to sell for us to be number one? And how it works is on pre-orders. So you've got 6 weeks to pre-order a single, and then until it goes to number one. In that time, you got to get on radio, you got to get on, TV, you got to get in magazines, everything. It's marketing, the third stage, marketing. We've picked our team, we've created a fan base, and now we've created what we are, and now it's about marketing the album and the single and actually delivering. Like, I had no idea how to get a number one single. All I knew is, I was like, I'm getting a number one single if it's the last thing I do. So I was like, okay, give me the numbers. Who's the last person? Let me see all the background of who's got a number one. So they're like, all right, you got to get 20,000 pre-orders to get a number one single, roughly, give and take. So I was like, okay, who else is out that week? Check all your competitors. Who else is coming out at the same time as you? So we worked out roughly to sell 20,000 records in 6 weeks. It was something like we had to sell like 500 records a day, which when you break it down to smaller numbers, it doesn't feel like that much more. So we're like, all right, okay, everyone, you sit your team down and you make sure your team knows the goals. Everyone's goals right now is to deliver 500 record sales a day. And we would get the numbers in every day. Like, let me see how much we sold, let me see how much we sold. But in the meantime, we were using our networks that we had built in the past 5 years to pull in favors from all the like DJs, anyone we knew in the clubs, Like at the label, you have a radio team and they go in and they tell the radio, oh, play this song. But if the DJ doesn't know you and doesn't care about you, he's not going to play your song. He's got like 50 other people to play. So you kind of got to be like, I grew up with these people, they're all my age. So you got to walk in and, be like, hey, what's up? Play my song. Don't play that other chick's song. Like, if she's number one and I'm not number one, like me and you are no longer friends, you best play this. Triple the times to playing that one. And we would, like, walk around the street, and I'd see posters, take pictures, hashtag it, post it on Twitter. If you've seen it, post it, write the link underneath. Just every little thing, appreciate every little fan and every little thing that you're doing. If you see someone else's poster and it's not your poster, take a picture, send it to the label, say, why is her poster up here, not mine? Like, I want my stuff everywhere over everyone else's. So now we were like building up. I was making sure we were hitting these numbers. And people were like, why are you getting so obsessed with these figures and numbers? You just do this and this. Then I was like, I've been working towards this for 5 years. I'm going to be obsessed. And we are all going to be obsessed until we get this number one. So now we've got a tour to go on. And it's different when you're in a city. I'm in London, I know everyone, Rita knows everyone, the team know people in London, so we can do that in London. But we've got a tour. We're now going to end up supporting Drake, which is obviously a massive artist, in the UK. But we're the support act. When you're a support act, you go on one before the main act. No one ever cares about the support act. So I'm like, okay, how are we going to get people to care and continue to buy tickets while we're on tour? So I tweeted, meet me outside the venues to the fans at X amount of time. The first 5 people to meet me there get free Drake tickets. So we would do this in every single city, and I printed out leaflets of the song with the barcode on the front. At that time, you could scan to buy the single. So then we would meet the fans outside the venues, and I would say, when you've handed out 100 leaflets, make sure the people you're handing them out to are buying them, and then come back and I'll give you your ticket. So what we were actually doing that we didn't realize at the time is implementing a system that's now called a street team. You can now hire these teams to do this for you. But what we were doing at the time was a lot more impactful and powerful, because we were kind of introducing people, not only so they could get Drake tickets, they now felt like Rita achieving success and a number one was their mission. Each person in each city that we did that to, they are still one of our core fans to this day, 5 years later. And they feel like Rita's career is just important to their life as it is to our life, because they're a part of that journey. And meanwhile, not only were we doing this, but people were watching this journey online. They were watching our YouTube diaries while we were doing this, and we were involving everyone in it. So they were like, oh my God, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? It was a race, like, are they going to make it to the top? It wasn't just, bang, this is how it happened, this is where we're looking. We did that, and then 4 number one singles later, and a number one album later, and then a sold-out tour. We would make sure that we would pay attention to detail for every single one of these singles. These people were now committed fans, and they were part of the journey with us. Rita's brand was now synonymous with the music, with blonde hair, with red lipstick, with wearing streetwear, like everything that we had done along the way that we thought, we didn't know at the time how important the things we were doing were to create this brand. We were just doing our best. And I think that was the key bit. We were all going with our hearts. We weren't doing it for the money. We weren't doing it for, we didn't know what was going to come out of it. We just wanted it to work. And that was passion and self-belief and hard work. So once we have 4 number one singles, you now have a success, you have a brand, you have an album that people are gravitating towards. So then we get phone calls from Rimmel. We get to this thing now where you've created a brand that other brands can buy into this, and they can be a part of it with you. So now, how do we handle this? This is another new experience now that we've never dealt with before. But what we did know and stick to was we knew ourselves. If they said she needs to dye her hair, whatever other color, we were like, hold on, that's not what we represent. So we can't do that. It's not going to make sense. The important thing, once you create a brand and you know what your brand stands for, you need to stick to those values and rules. Otherwise, you're throwing what you've created away. You're giving it away to another brand. That's the tricky part about working with other brands. You have to make sure that you have creative control over the collaboration. You have marketing control over the collaboration. You have control over how they are communicating your collaboration with your fans that you've created and your public. 5 years later, after stealing all my shoes, we start getting some free shoes. So cue us now working with Adidas. At the time, when they offered us the deal, it was only meant to be for the territories that we had delivered in, success in previously, because they knew that's where our market space lied. And they said, we only want to do this for you in Europe. But we knew, if you're paying attention to your brand and who you are and your opportunities and what's presented to you, I knew along the way, everything that everyone had told me not to do, I had to make sure that I didn't believe those things and I had to stick to my gut, to what we knew represented us. Otherwise, we would have said, cool, only do it for Europe, that's fine. I said, actually, I think we want to do it worldwide. Australians speak English and they know the songs. And, Americans speak English and they know the songs, and we've got, massive fans in Kosovo and Albania. We don't want to do this just for Europe. We want to do this worldwide. Why should we only do this for Europe? Also, the internet is a major source of, people buying in. You can see these images everywhere. So you're not actually only getting Europe, you're getting the whole world. An image paints 1,000 pictures. If this goes up online, it's not only going to be seen in Europe, it's going to be seen everywhere. So a lot of the time, what was difficult for us was, when do you listen to the experts and when do you not listen to the experts? Fast forward 3 years later, guess where our biggest sales are? China, Shanghai. You've got to make sure as well, when you're doing brand collaborations, you have to use them to your advantage. Each one of the collaborations that we did, we linked in with when we had a music release. So if they were like, we're going to have this many TV ads, we made sure that in the contract it said all of our songs are the background music to these adverts. That's why you have to make sure you have creative control over your own identity and brand and how they're delivering it. We didn't come across all of this by luck. Thinking back to when we had a deal on the table and we were doing these video diaries and I was standing outside venues giving people leaflets and telling them, make sure we get 500 record sales a day. No one turned around and told me, you're going to be, you guys are going to be in this position in 5 years' time. The president made Rita the ambassador for the country. No one believed that at the time. So for me, I think just the message for us is always, make sure that you believe in yourself and you stick to your brand. And once you know who you are, you got to believe in that person and you got to execute that message. And next year, I have no idea what's going to happen. But what I do know is I'm going to listen to myself and I'm going to listen to my team. And that's the two most important things. Thank you.